going over lesson 3, we are going to explain the role that Nelson Mandela specifically played in ending apartheid in South Africa. So this lesson 3 is connected to lesson 2. Lesson 2, you talked about what the laws were and what is apartheid. Now we're going to look at the role that Nelson Mandela played in actually ending the apartheid system. So going over apartheid again, we see that word apart. So they are attempting to keep these two groups of people apart. And when you went over the laws of apartheid, you realize that you basically got narrowed down into like 3 groups. You were white, you were black, or you were colored. So you have human rights, rights that belong to all human beings, such as the rights to life, liberty, and property. If you are taking a look at these life, liberty, and property pieces, I want you to remember that these are also known as your natural rights, and that this goes all the way back to the Enlightenment under John Locke. Nonviolence is the use of peaceful means, not force, to bring about political or social change. So Nelson Mandela will start by using nonviolence. Typically, when we see nonviolence, we think of things like protests or boycotts. So when we look back at the timeline of events that kind of led us to where apartheid was existing, as well as the actions that were taken against apartheid, it starts in 1948. It's really important to remember that at this time, South Africa is independent. So they're not trying to gain independence from their colonizer. They're trying to gain independence from the white minority that hold all the power. So apartheid laws are created separating whites and blacks by race. Then we have in the 1950s peaceful protests led by the African National Congress, or the ANC, against past laws, which we saw in our notes yesterday, and Nelson Mandela's leadership's defiance campaign against past laws. So what we start to see is that they really start targeting and with its focus on peaceful protest or nonviolent. In March 1960, something different happens. In March 1960, we have something called Sharpeville. At Sharpeville, you see a large number of people that were practicing a peaceful protest, and they were shot by the police. And so this starts to result in the ANC starting to feel like that nonviolence wasn't going to work, so they start to use violence against the government. Now, when they start to use this violence, they did it with the intent of no people being hurt. By April of 1960, so 1 month later, the ANC is banned by the government. Any membership to the ANC is considered traitorous, and Mandela goes underground. When we see this term underground, it is just the idea that he's being hidden from the government. Okay, he's not physically underground. In 1964, Mandela was sentenced to life in prison for plotting to overthrow South Africa's racist apartheid system. You will read an excerpt of some of his speech that he gives where he basically admits, like, yes, I did this. However, very similar to what we saw with the suffragettes, between the violence against the government not harming people, but also using nonviolent protest, he basically says, since I've had no rights to create this government, therefore, how can I be attempting to overthrow something that I've never been able to create? In 1976, thousands of students protest the Afrikaans language in Soweto. And again, we see that K, so we know that this is white South African, so it is a language that they're mostly speaking. This is also going to lead to violence. In 1986, there are now international boycotts against South Africa over apartheid laws. By 1989, the apartheid laws are beginning to relax, and Mandela meets with the man named F.W. de Klerk, who is the white president at the time. By February 11, 1990, the ANC ban is lifted and Mandela is released from prison. So they had to basically wait until the apartheid laws are basically removed completely before Mandela would allow himself to be released. He was given offers of release a few times. He refuses to take them until the laws are over or everyone is released. In 1994, there are the first fully democratic elections, and Nelson Mandela is elected the first Black president of South Africa.